we've had two big upsets this month. Rolly Romero beat Ryan Garcia. We had Reséndiz beating Caleb Plant. Even though you said that you wouldn't call him washed, I saw a lot of people calling him washed up. Ever since that Canelo fight, that was the very best version of Caleb Plant.
To be honest, it looked like at some points Caleb Plant was about to get stopped.
It's always been a big criticism for Caleb Plant, saying that, you know, his gas tank isn't the best.
You know, Caleb Plant came in as a minus 2,500 favorite.
I think it definitely is the biggest upset this year so far.
Are we still hyped up to see Plant against Berlanga or Plant against Charlo? Now we go over to this upcoming weekend's showdown at 135. Keyshawn Davis as he looks to retain his belt against Edwin de Los Santos.
I really do believe this is a 50-50 fight.
So far, this will probably be his biggest test.
But he's known as La Granada, because he's got dynamite, he's got grenades in those hands. What are your official predictions for this matchup? Welcome back to another episode of The Last Round Podcast, where we cover everything from traditional boxing to influencer boxing and everything in between. Today's episode, we'll be going over Caleb Plant's shocking split decision loss to Reséndiz, as well as the return of Jermall Charlo, and giving our official predictions for this upcoming weekend's WBO lightweight showdown between Keyshawn Davis as he looks to retain his title against Edwin de Los Santos. But before we get into the episode, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on all forms of social media. Lastly, we're trying to build up a community on Discord, and you guys joining would be greatly appreciated. And now diving into the episode. First things first, the main event. Caleb Plant returned against Reséndiz in an interim 168 bout fight. And, you know, Caleb Plant came in as a minus 2,500 favorite against Reséndiz, and people were expecting Caleb Plant to perform well and to get the win over Reséndiz in order to build up the matchup between him and Charlo or him and Berlanga. But instead, we got a shocking upset and what people are dubbing upset of the year. Thoughts about this fight?
Yeah, super surprised that this even happened. You know, I saw the odds and stuff like that, and I had a feeling, you know, and we said it last week, you know, I gave my prediction, Caleb Plant by stoppage. It did not turn out that way. To be honest, it looked like at some points Caleb Plant was about to get stopped. You know, Reséndiz is a tough Mexican warrior. You know, when you think of a Mexican warrior, like, he embodies that, right? Can take a punch, goes forward, wants to engage, and hits hard. And so, I don't know if Caleb Plant miscalculated or Reséndiz came in with the best game plan going into this fight. But a huge upset. It ruined my parlay on Saturday, so I'm really sad about that.
Yeah, it left the whole boxing world confused, man. This is a very massive upset. I think it definitely is the biggest upset this year so far. And I think it doesn't have too much to do with Caleb Plant. I think it has a lot to do with Reséndiz. You know, he showed great improvement in this fight. I think his patience, you definitely saw his patience, great high guard, and just power like crazy, man. I mean, that guy hits hard.
Yeah, and I feel like another thing that surprised me about Armando was the fact that it was his first fight going up to 168 and his first fight going to 12 rounds. And that's what you said, you know, he was patient. Like, he understood, like, it almost seemed as though, like, this is like a typical fight for him. Almost like he's used to fighting a 12-rounder fight. You know, the first few rounds, he took it off. I felt like Caleb got the better of those exchanges. I feel like he won those, like, first 4 rounds. And then out of nowhere, I feel like Caleb Plant just started falling into the game plan of Armando. And I think that really helped Armando in the end.
Yeah, a big part of the game plan was the body work as well. That's one of the things that really surprised me about Reséndiz and his trainer, Manny Robles, kept on telling him, body ahead, keep on switching it up. I mean, Caleb Plant, his whole left side was just red, like from the 6th round all the way to the end of the fight. His body was just getting destroyed, and it's always been a big criticism for Caleb Plant, saying that, you know, his gas tank isn't the best, especially in the second half of the fight. He tends to gas out. I think Manny Robles knew that and told Reséndiz, hey, continue the pressure and go to the body. And that's just what happened. I mean, it was a great performance by Reséndiz.
Yeah, Reséndiz, when I gave my prediction, I was saying easy work for Caleb Plant, and that really stemmed from, Caleb Plant just being a elite fighter at 168. And also from, last time that I watched Reséndiz was against Elijah Garcia. They're one of the PBC's prospects during the time. And Elijah Garcia put a beating on Reséndiz at 160 and stopped him in the 8th round. And, seeing that performance from Reséndiz compared to the one that he put up against Caleb Plant this past weekend was definitely huge leaps of improvement from him. And now that he's got this shocking upset win over a top guy like Caleb Plant, he's kind of spoiled all the fun. I mean, Jermall Charlo during the post-fight interview or press conference spoke about Caleb Plant's loss and spoke how, he thought that Caleb Plant looked out of shape and that version of Caleb Plant would have gotten stopped by him, that Charlo would have stopped him. Edgar Berlanga was very vocal on social media, especially on X, claiming that, Plant is a bum. He got his ass whooped, yada, yada, the typical Edgar Berlanga shenanigans going on. But now that we have this shocking loss for Caleb Plant, are we still hyped up to see Plant against Berlanga or Plant against Charlo? What are your guys' thoughts about that?
Man, to be honest, it's really hard to say. Like, for me, I still would like to see him fight against Berlanga, but now with this recent performance, I'm not quite sure if I want to see it anymore, especially against Charlo as well. Yeah, I mean, Caleb Plant is 32, 33. I saw some people online saying that maybe it's time for him to, or like his best years are behind him now. I'm not sure about that. He's still pretty young, but yeah, just that Caleb performance wasn't the best. So last week I said that he could beat Charlo. I don't even know if he can beat Charlo anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Charlo still said he wanted to fight. And so that could still be in the future. He also said that there's a rematch clause for the Reséndiz fight. So that could also be in the future. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Caleb Plant, I mean, I still think he can still make it, but it's just going to be a climb back now. Like this is a very big upset for him. And it took a big shot to his, career. Now I think he's going to have to build up a little bit more. Reséndiz is going to get all the glory for a while. So it's just tough, man. And another interesting thing, I feel like his style, was a bit different. Against Canelo, like he was using the shoulder roll a lot. It was a shoulder roll defense, the Mayweather Philly shell. And in this fight, he was like more focused on like the lead hand control, lead hand domination, where he was trying to just kind of keep Reséndiz off him, and it didn't really work. Like he got clipped early on, like 3rd, 4th round was the first time that Reséndiz clipped him, and he immediately hurt him. So I think that's another thing. Caleb might be a little chinny. He might be a little chinny. No disrespect. I mean, Reséndiz does hit hard, right? But I mean, if he goes up against Berlanga hits hard. He doesn't have the best skills, but he does hit hard. And, Caleb, if he lets him, land a couple of punches like Reséndiz was landing, it's going to have the same effect. So I think Caleb has to take that into consideration.
Yeah, and I feel like it really ruins the plans for Caleb. Like, I didn't even know he had the rematch clause with Reséndiz. He needs to fight Reséndiz again and get that lick back. Because if he doesn't, then no one else wants to see him fight Charlo. No one else wants to see him fight Berlanga. And I think, just the image of Caleb right now, I wouldn't say it's in the mud, but it's a little bit unclear, unknown. But yeah, he needs to get that rematch with Reséndiz and then go from there.
Mm-hmm. Well, personally, I still want to see Caleb Plant against Berlanga and Caleb Plant against Charlo. More so Berlanga, because look, Berlanga after the fight, like I said, was talking mad shit about Caleb Plant, claiming he got his ass whooped, yada yada, very vocal on social media. But let's not forget that Edgar Berlanga has a tough fight within his own rights against Shiraz coming up. So Berlanga, he might have, he's that vocal guy. He's, if someone he doesn't fuck with loses or, doesn't put up the best performance, Berlanga's going to be vocal about it. But let's not forget that, if you put up a shitty performance, people are going to eat you up too. So, Berlanga at this moment, he's kind of living it up. It's funny for him seeing, I think he's having a lot of fun seeing, especially Canelo, the performance he put up against William Skull, and now Caleb Plant losing against Reséndiz. I think Edgar Berlanga is feeling a lot better about himself now. I think he's feeling a lot more happier than he was when he went all 12 rounds with Canelo. But this goes back to a point or a question I wanted to ask. We've had two big upsets this month. In the month of May, we had Rolly Romero beat Ryan Garcia, and now we had Reséndiz beating Caleb Plant. Now, people are claiming boxing nowadays, they're over-marinating these fights because, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, the rematch. This was supposed to be, the setup for the rematch in the fall. Now that Rolly Romero lost, Devin Haney didn't look too good, even though he won. People are saying, why are we having these kinds of fights? Now Reséndiz beat Caleb Plant, kind of spoils or backtracks the plans that they had for Charlo, for Berlanga matching up with Caleb Plant. Do you think that over-marinating fights in boxing has become an issue? That, it kind of spoils the fun for potential matchups that we kind of want to see in the future?
I mean, possibly. To some degree, this is a fight that, no one wanted to see Caleb Plant against Reséndiz. No one wanted to see Charlo against Lamana. No, I guess people did want to see Rolly Romero against Ryan Garcia. Yeah. But, everyone really wanted to see that rematch with him and Haney. It didn't happen. It happens. I think it's always been like this where two fighters within a division get so hot, so popular that the people want to see. So sometimes, it's not out of the ordinary to marinate the fight. Maybe have two different guys fight other guys as well, so the buildup can be even bigger. It's not always a bad thing, but the downside is if one of them loses, then it kind of ruins the fun for everyone. And I did see that online that a lot of people were like, why didn't Caleb and Charlo fight right now? Like, why didn't they fight this past weekend? Like, that would have been a great fight, given the fact that maybe even Charlo hasn't fought in so long. It's still a fight that people want to see, but at the end of the day, it does take two fighters to actually come together and want to fight. We don't know the negotiations. We don't know if Charlo wanted a little tune-up before fighting Caleb. And, things happen. And so, I think now a lot of people are wondering what happens next? Where do we go from here?
Yeah, it's always a risk, It's always a risk when two fighters try to, delay their fights and get a step up, a tune-up. And this is what it was supposed to be for both guys. It was supposed to be a tune-up for Plant and Charlo. And Charlo did his job. He did the best. He got 5 rounds in and got the stoppage. He three knockdowns. That's basically the best he could have asked for. It was all up to Caleb Plant. He didn't do it. Right now we're living in got a couple upsets, which I think is fine. Yeah. It's fine. I think it's exciting. It's interesting. You don't always want boxing to be predictable. And Caleb was a massive favorite, but hey, as boxing, sometimes it happens. Reséndiz. The only shocking thing about Reséndiz was that this was a split decision. Yeah. This should have been a unanimous. And I love Caleb Plant. I was rooting for him, but this was not a split decision victory. I think it was a clear unanimous for Reséndiz. So you just got to give him the praise.
Yeah, I was not in agreement with that one judge that gave the fight to Caleb Plant. But speaking about what you just said about boxing not being predictable, boxing has never been predictable. When you get two guys fighting inside the ring, anything can happen. One punch changes the storyline. It changes the fight. It changes the outcome, and then things go on in a different way. It happens. So with people being a little bit mad, a little bit upset, I understand that. Now they have to wait a little bit longer for the fights that they really want to see. But I think that's the reason. What at least for me, that's one of the reasons why I like boxing. It's so unpredictable. Like anything can happen inside that ring.
Now I have another question for you guys regarding Caleb Plant, Berlanga, and Charlo. We last week were even brewing up to these matchups. We were talking about, who we thought would win in the matchup, Charlo and Plant and Berlanga, this and that. We were all, I think, in the ultimate agreement that Caleb Plant would beat them both. Does your predictions about that change regarding the outcomes of this fight? Do you think that this fight against Reséndiz really showcased or kind of altered your prediction for Caleb Plant in the matchup against Edgar Berlanga or Jermall Charlo?
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely. Look, I don't want to say that Caleb Plant is washed or Caleb Plant isn't as good as he once was, but it does affect his what is it, his stock, at least for me. If he were to fight the way he fought on Saturday against Reséndiz, against Berlanga and Charlo, he's getting knocked out. One thing that surprised me about Charlo is the fact that his jab is not only powerful and strong, but it's also still quick. Even it's at his first time moving up to 168. Granted, maybe it wasn't, he wasn't facing an elite fighter, but I mean, it was still there. So that kind of surprised me a little bit. And he does pack power still at 168. Looks like he's still being able to carry that power that he had at 154, 160 to 168. Yeah, I don't really. I see Charlo giving a lot of problems to Plant. And in regards to Berlanga, I'm pretty sure Berlanga would beat Caleb Plant.
I think so.
I think so. Especially the way he was fighting. Like, I don't know why Caleb Plant decided to fight inside the pocket. Like, that's not his fight. That's not how he normally fights. So it was kind of surprising for me to see that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Charlo fight is still real close. Honestly, like I said, Charlo did his thing. This is probably the best outcome he could have asked for in his fight. And I think you're right. The biggest highlight was that jab. I mean, the jab was amazing. I think he has a great jab, fast jab, just a phenomenal jab that kept Lamana at bay, right?
Cornflake.
Yeah, so good jab, but I wasn't overall impressed by him. I think he was a bit slow. I think he was very flat-footed. It felt like his body wasn't really fully coordinated. And that could be a lot of reasons. It could be, he's going up in weight. Mm-hmm. It could be the 2-year layoff. So it could be some cobwebs. We don't really know. But I think that fight would be close. I think the power would be the differentiator, depending how Charlo is if he's able to land one of those big shots. But I still think that's a 50-50 fight. Honestly, I think it's a very competitive fight. With the Berlanga one, Plant and Berlanga is a lot more interesting now, because I mean, Berlanga likes to rush a lot, right? He's not really a patient guy. The only time we've seen him be patient really was against Canelo, but all the time he's always trying to rush. He wants to get the KO. He's itching for that KO, and that might play it against him, right? I think the reason why Reséndiz had such a great performance was because he was patient and he waited for Caleb to start, loosening down and then he started. He was also really he was emphasizing the body work and then going up to the head. Whereas Berlanga isn't like that, man. Berlanga just wants to swing and knock you out cold. So, but he does have the power. I think if he lands on Plant, I think he will. He's gonna drop him. So that's a very interesting fight. I think if Berlanga is patient and actually uses his head, I think he can win the fight. But if he gets overconfident like he usually does, because he's a cocky motherfucker, right? Like, let's be honest here. So if he gets a little too overconfident and just tries to go in there, start swinging, I could see Caleb like dodging the shots and fighting on the outside. So I think both those fights are still very interesting at 168.
Yeah, and then another thing that I want to highlight is the fact that Caleb Plant gassed out even before the second half of the fight against Reséndiz. If you were to gas out in this, similarly how he did against Reséndiz, against Charlo or Berlanga, especially against Berlanga, I don't see him going the full 12 rounds. Maybe with Charlo, I guess, because except that jab, the jab was the only thing that was fast from him. Like, his footwork was not fast, his punch combinations was not fast, but that jab was fast. But I mean, Berlanga, he's just like a bulldozer. He's just going to go forward and just swing and swing and swing. And if Caleb Plant isn't able to have stamina to avoid those punches, then maybe he's going to get clipped later on, second half of the fight, and then he goes down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very interesting. The scenario that we're now in, Caleb Plant losing was definitely not on the list. And now many people are questioning him. And many people are questioning his ability to perform at the top level. Even though you said that you wouldn't call him washed, I saw a lot of people calling him washed up. And people were making the case that, ever since that Canelo fight, that was the very best version of Caleb Plant. Ever since then, it's been a slight decline. And now, in this past weekend's showdown with him and Reséndiz, was the apparent fast decline of Caleb Plant. So, Caleb Plant now has to beat these allegations in his next matchup. Knowing Caleb Plant, I'm sure he's going to take a big fight. regardless of losing to Reséndiz. I don't think he even goes to Reséndiz. I think he goes to a Charlo. He goes to a Berlanga after. I feel like he's that type of guy who says, okay, people are doubting me again. I'm gonna get a big fight, and then I'm gonna beat them. And what are they gonna say? I think Caleb Plant is gonna do that. I don't think he's gonna take another tune-up to get that W, to get that confidence. I think he's gonna go straight into perhaps a Berlanga, perhaps a Charlo showdown in the fall, just because that's the type of mentality that Caleb Plant has, and that's why he's one of my favorite fighters. If he does that, it's gonna increase my likeness towards him in that aspect.
Yeah. To be honest, I really like the way Caleb Plant is inside of the ring and outside of the ring. I like just his mannerism, his personality, the way he thinks, his mindset, his morals that he stands on. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he does that, but then again, I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to run it back with Reséndiz. In regards to him losing, this is a big fight. I know that's hurting him a lot, and I know it's not the outcome that he wanted. But I think it's really hurting him a lot more with the criticism online. So, yeah, man, I really don't know what Caleb is going to do. So, yeah, he has a lot on his plate. So, whatever he decides to do, I'm still going to go with Caleb. He's still one of my favorite fighters at that division. So, whatever he decides to do, I'll be there with him in spirit.
Gay? No. No, well, I was going to say, you know what I think it is, though? I think Plant's kryptonite is just Mexicans. That's what I think it is, right? Like, Canelo, Reséndiz, Benavidez is like a fourth, but he still got some of that Mexican blood in him. I think all the other guys at 168, I think he can beat them. It's just that little Mexican thing that he just can't get over it.
It's the Mexican pressure is what they would say, the pressure and the power. But yes, that was Caleb Plant's shocking split decision upset against Reséndiz this past weekend, where we also saw the return of Jermall Charlo as he beat Lamana by TKO or corner stoppage as well in the co-main event. So that was this weekend's fights. Now we go over to this upcoming weekend's showdown at 135. Featuring the return of the WBO champion in Keyshawn Davis as he looks to retain his belt against Edwin de Los Santos. Now, Keyshawn Davis is coming off a victorious win over Lemos. Remember, Lemos was the man who gave Hitchens, the current 140 champion, a run for his money. Or actually, no, his last fight was against Berlanga to become the champion. And remember, Berlanga defeated Emmanuel Navarrete back last year during the fall or during the spring around this time, and took on Keyshawn Davis, and Keyshawn Davis made easy work of Berlanga to become the champion at 135. And now he's taking on Edwin de Los Santos, who last time he fought was against Shakur Stevenson in a fight that was dubbed the worst fight of the century. Now, de Los Santos has not fought in over a year, but he's known as La Granada because he's got dynamite, he's got grenades in those hands. Thoughts about this matchup?
Yeah, this matchup is very interesting. So for me, huge credit to Keyshawn. Keyshawn, in his last fight, he became a world champion. And instead of taking like an easy fight or an easy title defense against someone who's ranked a little bit lower in his in the sanctioning body that he's a world champion in, he decides to go for Edwin de Los Santos. Congrats. To me, that signals that he has a lot of confidence within himself. He feels like that he will be able to get the job done in his own hometown. So for me, great. But on the other side, Edwin, such a dangerous fighter. He's a southpaw. He's a guy who is not only does not only pack a punch in both hands, but he's super explosive, man. Like out of nowhere, he's just kind of like boxing, and then out of nowhere he just throws like 3-4 punch combinations out of nowhere very fast, so it's very interesting. I would say granted he has been out of the ring for over a year now, but don't get it twisted. Like, I still feel like this could be very much a 50-50 fight.
Oh, I mean, yeah, this is a very good fight. I think if this is probably Edwin, I feel bad kind of for Edwin de Los Santos because I feel like his name is always associated with Shakur Stevenson and the most boring boxing fight of the modern era, right? That's what he gets pegged at, and it's not really fair for him, especially if you don't really know him. If you're like a casual guy who just knows him from the Shakur fight, that's not how he fights, man. Go look at his fight against Rayo Valenzuela, and you'll see the type of dog that Edwin is. You'll see how dangerous he is. You see the heart that he has. This guy loves to fight. And another thing, Keyshawn Davis loves to fight as well. I like Keyshawn, honestly. I like his style a lot. I've been very impressed by him. Very meteoric rise. You know, he's a world champion already. He's beating guys like Lemos and Berenchink. Very impressive in such a quick time. Now he's going up against Edwin, and Keyshawn's he's a power boxer, right? So he's a slick fighter, slick boxer, but he's a counter puncher as well, and he likes to stay on the inside. He likes to use kind of like a type of shoulder roll to stay on the inside, make his opponents miss, and counter with some hard shots. It's going to be a good-ass fight. I mean, this is going to be a firefight, I think. So I'm really interested to see how Keyshawn does against like a dangerous puncher, and a guy who's quick like De Los Santos.
Do y'all think that the plus 1 year inactivity from De Los Santos will play in effect against Keyshawn this weekend?
Look, it could, right? But I mean, to be honest, I don't think it will. I don't even think that's going to be like some type of a hurdle that he's going to have to get over. I mean, his last fight against Shakur, it was mostly like a sparring, if that. He didn't sustain too much punishment, and he didn't really throw that much. He didn't really exude too much energy on his body. The long year layoff, I think, is going to help him a lot. I'm not sure how old he is, but I feel like it shouldn't really affect him at all.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not placing that much emphasis on it. I think he's going to come in 100%.
So, Edwin De Los Santos, explosive fighter with power in those hands. Saw a lot of people online. The main big favorite is, of course, Keyshawn Davis, the current WBO world champion. But there's some people who are favoring De Los Santos to pull off the upset. Do you think that De Los Santos can make it competitive at points, or do you think this is going to be just one of those showcasings, kind of like the Lemos fight, where we expected Lemos to put up a good performance, the pressure fighter, the hard hitter against Keyshawn, and Keyshawn made easy work from him, easy work out of him? Do you think that's going to be the same type of, it's going to be a repeated story that we already saw, or do you think that De Los Santos is going to be that opponent that's going to be the toughest one in Keyshawn Davis's career?
Yeah, to be honest, like, I really don't know, man. Like, it for Keyshawn, this could be such an easy fight. Look, so when he was going to fight Lemos, I thought he was going to struggle, and he just washed. He just beat down. He put a beating on Lemos. Really easy. But with Edwin, I feel like this fight could either be really easy for him, oddly enough, or really hard, which is where he will lose his title in front of his hometown. But yeah, I can't really decide. I can't really pinpoint. Like, for me, I really do believe this is a 50-50 fight.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd say they're a little bit different styles. I'd say Lemos is nowhere near as explosive as De Los Santos. He's a pressure fighter, and he tried to rush a little too quickly against Keyshawn. He also came in like massively overweight as well. That's another aspect. I think De Los Santos is much more calculated, and he's much more explosive, like much more explosive. He can go from 0 to 100 just like that, whereas Lemos kind of uses his pressure and then kind of swings some shots. I'm more interested in like if Keyshawn can take a punch. I want to see his chin, because I do think De Los Santos can land something, and so he's called La Granada for a reason, right? He's got some dynamite in those hands, right? I want to see if Keyshawn can handle a guy that lands some hard punches on him, and what he does. I want to see the heart in him, because he's still so young, and he's had great success. He's never really had like a super hard fight. So I want to see if Edwin can do it. I don't know if he can, but so far this will probably be his biggest test.
In the manner that Keyshawn Davis does beat De Los Santos, and he beats him in grand fashion, does that make De Los Santos, or does that make Keyshawn Davis the best champion at 135? Because let's not forget, we have Lomachenko, we got Tank, and we also got Sugar Shakur in there. Often said people would rank Tank Davis as number one, followed by Sugar Shakur, and then Keyshawn and Vasily would fight for the third spot. But in the manner that Keyshawn defeats De Los Santos, let's say, in grand fashion, does that put Keyshawn Davis at a higher pedigree than Shakur, or a higher at the top of the list as the top champion at 135 over Tank and over Shakur?
Man, that's a tough question. I feel like possibly, he could be the number 2 guy, and that would be equally good for him as well. But it just all depends on how he looks against Edwin. Like, if he barely beats Edwin, then he's going to stay there at, within the third ranking of the best lightweights at the moment in time. But if he looks tremendous, then, I would say there could be an argument to be made that, he's definitely up there. He's either top 1 or top 2. Because, who was Tank's last fight?
Roach.
He didn't look the best. Against a guy who was coming up in weight. Now, if Keyshawn, let's say, knocks out Edwin, a very dangerous guy at 135, like, that would look really good for him.
Yeah, I'd say probably. I would agree that Keyshawn would go as my number 1, and I've been impressed by him a lot. These past couple of fights have just been amazing. If he's able to do De Los Santos dirty and just get him out in like 3 rounds, 4 rounds, I'm gonna be like insane. Like, he's gonna shoot up in the pound for pound ranking. Yeah. I think another thing with Davis, we still have to see, because he has that rematch with Roach coming up, or supposedly coming up. I don't think it's been officially announced, but it's rumored. We got to see how he looks. But he hasn't really looked the greatest recently. I feel like I haven't been mega impressed by him. Keyshawn, if he's able to do this, he's gonna look amazing. It's also gonna look worse for Shakur, because Shakur was running against this guy, and Keyshawn knocked him out in 3-4 rounds. So. This is a very good opportunity for Keyshawn Davis. I think it was smart to pick a guy like Edwin De Los Santos, a guy that's dangerous but is definitely beatable. So it's all eyes on Keyshawn.
And let's say Keyshawn does beat De Los Santos. They got the matchup brewing between him and Andy Cruz, man. And that matchup from the amateurs, Andy Cruz has been barking and has been wanting a fight with Keyshawn. Andy Cruz, though, he's ranked number 1 on the WBC, so he'd be not next in line because Zepeda's interim, but he'd be the number 1 contender against the winner, let's say, of Zepeda and Shakur. So that'd be interesting. Let's say that Sugar Shakur beats El Camarón Zepeda, Andy Cruz beats Sugar Shakur, and then look at that. Imagine that matchup: Andy Cruz, WBC champion, taking on WBO champion Keyshawn Davis in the fight that fight number 6. They fought 4 or 5 times in the amateurs. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm saying Keyshawn Davis, he's kind of obligated to win. He's got a bunch of matchups. You got Murataya also in there. People are matching them up against Andy Cruz, of course. The other champion, Sugar Shakur. Probably not him, but Gervonta Davis, Lamont Roach, even Lomachenko in there. So Keyshawn Davis has too much opportunities in front of him that he cannot afford to waste. Hence why he has to come into this fight against La Granada de Los Santos 100%. But now that we're talking about the champions at 135, what happened to Lomachenko, guys? Where's he at? Because he's there's no talks about him whatsoever.
He's on the front lines with Ukraine and Russia.
I was about to say that too.
Yeah. Listen, Loma. First of all, his manager hasn't said really anything, and also he hasn't said really anything. I think the sanctioning body's got to be like, yo, you're getting stripped if you don't fight somebody soon, because you're holding up a very valuable division. 135 has a lot of great fighters, and you can't just be there, you can't just hold on to the belt without fighting and not say anything, right? So I think it's up to the sanctioning bodies to come in and be like, Loma, let's go. You got to do something. If not, you get stripped. It's fine, right? Yeah. Because if he goes up against any of the other champions, I'm not liking his chances. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't like his chances against Keyshawn, against Shakur, or against Tank, or against maybe even some of the other just top guys at 135. So it's looking tough for him, man. He's getting old, and he's always struggled at that weight class. I feel like this new generation's coming in, and they're hungry. Yeah. So either get ready or move out the way. Yeah,
to be honest, I think that's what it is. I think age has caught up to Lomachenko, and it's normal. That's what really happens. And, I think I've been hearing different things from his team. Lomachenko has always had a great team, and his manager is the one who I believe has been saying these things. Lomachenko is injured, or Lomachenko is spending time with family, or blah, whatever the X, Y, and Z reason is. But I really just think Lomachenko's time is done. Such a great fighter. He's going to leave such a extraordinary resume, as an amateur and both as a professional. Nothing to be ashamed about. But I just think right now he should just hang up the gloves. His time is done, and just let the younger generation take over.
Yeah, for real, man. I mean, or you know what he could do? He could wait for the winner of Hitchens and Cambosis, and then he can fight the winner for that.
That'd be crazy.
Go up to 140. There you go, man. There's your next matchup. Nah, actually, I don't like that because my boy Subriel Matias still needs some business with Hitchens. So, Lomachenko can take a step back from that. But no, I mean, I talked about it in previous episodes too, about the IBF and the 135. Yeah, I mean, like, bro, like they don't even have one or two top contenders ranked. There's no rated fighters there. They just got number 3, which is Andy Cruz, and then they have Mark Magsayo for some reason at number 4. But I mean, look, Raymond Murataya, he's the interim. If we're talking technical wise, I mean, he should be the one fighting Lomachenko next. Lomachenko has gone MIA. His manager is the only one talking. But even then, I mean, he doesn't really speak much about Lomachenko. Everyone is already, at this point, every time I open X and I scroll, I see a post about Lomachenko and I look at the comments. Every comment is basically the same. He's pretty much retired. Yeah. He's gone from the sport. So if he is retired, or he hasn't announced his official retirement, just vacate that belt, bro. Because I want to see someone who's actually active, who actually wants to fight, take up the IBF champion and take on some of the other champions, because there has to be unifications and there has to be an undisputed champion at that weight class.
Yeah, and it's funny. I feel like he's taking a little bit of a page from Gennady Golovkin's. Gennady wasn't a champion towards the end of his career, I believe, but he just kind of slowly faded away. And I think people were like, I haven't seen Golovkin fight in a while now.
Did he ever announce his retirement?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think he ever did. He just kind of became part of the committee for the amateurs, and then people were just like, "Nice retirement, champ." Never officially announced it, but everyone already agrees that he's done fighting. Yeah. But same with Lomachenko. Even though I feel Lomachenko should say something because he's the champion, and once he actually vacates officially, then that's when we'll know for sure that he's officially hanging up the gloves. But now that we're talking, 135, let's go back to the main task at hand. Keyshawn Davis and De Los Santos. What are your official predictions for this matchup?
Ooh, this is such a like I said, it's a 50-50 fight for me in my eyes. Maybe some can say, Keyshawn's the champion, so maybe it's a little 55-45 for Keyshawn. For me, look, it's really hard to not look at the facts. And Keyshawn, his recent performance, like I'm talking about last 4 fights, he's definitely been taking a step up within the competition level, and he's been able to make it look super easy. So I'm gonna go with Keyshawn Davis. I'm not gonna get specific because last week I went super specific, didn't get it. So this time I'm just going to go for Keyshawn Davis. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I think Keyshawn will win this fight. It's going to be competitive, I think, but I think Keyshawn is going to be the clear victor.
Well, I'm hearing you guys, Keyshawn, but I'm going to be the odd duck out right here. I'm going for La Granada. I think he's going to knock him out in the first round. First right that he lands is going to be sparked out. No, I'm kidding. No. I think Keyshawn Davis will get the victory. The thing is, it's harder for me to, because I kind of want to be a bit more specific with my prediction, whether it's going to be a KO or a scorecard win. But I don't know, it's kind of hard for me to kind of pinpoint that, because De Los Santos has given us nothing to kind of, base his performance or where he's at since the Shakur. And even then, I mean, he couldn't really do anything. I mean, we didn't really see much of him in the Shakur fight either way. So right now, Edwin De Los Santos, who knows what he's been up to for this past year and a half or year and a quarter or whatever. So he could have been, probably maybe after the Shakur fight, he went right back to the gym and he's been training nonstop ever since that loss to Sugar Shakur. But I mean, we don't know. We don't know where he's at. Which is why it's hard for me to pinpoint whether or not Keyshawn will get the stoppage or get the scorecard. I'm predicting a scorecard win for him, though. I think it's going to go all 12 rounds. I think De Los Santos is going to break that chain. And I think it's going to come mainly from the explosivity from De Los Santos. I think that's going to cause problems for Keyshawn. It's going to make him a bit more cautious and a bit more conservative when it comes to his output or his ability to kind of take a bit more risk. I think that's going to be a big factor, which is why it's going to be a scorecard win for Keyshawn Davis. But he will retain his WBO lightweight championship belt. But we have given our official predictions. I think we've covered everything we wanted to cover for today. Let us know down below your official prediction for Keyshawn Davis against Edwin De Los Santos. Also, let us know about your reaction to the shocking loss from Caleb Plant against Reséndiz and the return of Jermall Charlo. Do you think that Plant beats Berlanga or Charlo? Or do you think that Caleb Plant is quote-unquote washed up? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on all forms of social media. We're on X, TikTok, and Instagram. Lastly, we're trying to build up a community on Discord, and you guys joining would be greatly appreciated. But this was Pablo, and I'm with Rulo and Asa, and this was the Last Round Podcast. Thank you for watching.